When faith meets hustle, the radical power of putting yourself first. Have you ever stood at the edge of a dream so big it terrified you? That moment when your heart whispers go, but your mind screams impossible. I want to tell you about someone who faced that precipice and jumped not once, but repeatedly. Someone whose story will fundamentally change how you think about faith, resilience, and the revolutionary act of putting yourself first. I recently had the privilege of interviewing Diana Padron, a woman whose journey has become a beacon for countless others walking through darkness. Diana isn't just another entrepreneur with a success story. She's a force of nature who's redefining what's possible when you refuse to let your circumstance define your destiny. Picture this: single mother of four children, living on welfare and Section 8 housing, carrying the weight of childhood trauma and PTSD that would have crushed many spirits permanently. Now imagine that same woman declaring she would open a CBD dispensary in Avondale Estates, Georgia, a former sundown town with a complicated racial history. Most people would have called her crazy. Many did, including her religious family, who couldn't understand why she'd enter an industry still carrying significant stigma. But here's where Diana's story gets interesting. When everyone else saw impossibility, she saw divine assignment. The Most High said, if you want greatness, you have to walk in faith, she told me. Not the comfortable kind of faith that waits for perfect conditions, the audacious kind that steps out when there's no visible path forward. Let's be honest. We live in a culture obsessed with hustle porn. This idea that if you just work hard enough, success is guaranteed. But Diana's story reveals something far more nuanced, something we rarely talk about in entrepreneurial circles. Sometimes the most powerful move isn't working harder, it's believing harder. When Diana received over $10,000 in grants to launch her business, on the exact same day her relationship fell apart, she had every reason to retreat, to say, maybe this isn't the right time. Instead, she recognized that moment for what it was, a test of her resolve. Would she put herself first? Or would she follow the script society hands to Black women to be endlessly strong for others while postponing their own dreams? Diana chose herself. And today, at 49, she owns not one, but two thriving CBD dispensaries, with a third location opening soon. She drives a classic 63 car, not just as transportation, but as a rolling symbol of promises kept to herself. You know what fascinates me most about Diana's journey? Her success isn't just about personal achievement. By prioritizing herself, something Black women are rarely encouraged to do, she created a ripple effect that's transforming her entire community. This is the paradox that society doesn't want marginalized people to discover. When you put yourself first, you actually become more powerful for others. Think about it. Every time we board an airplane, we hear those instructions. In case of emergency, secure your own oxygen mask before assisting others. Yet, how many of us, especially women, and particularly Black women, live as if the opposite were true? As if our value lies primarily in how much we sacrifice for others. Diana's story challenges that narrative at its core. Her dispensaries aren't just businesses, they're community hubs where people learn about wellness options they might otherwise never encounter. They're physical proof that someone who looks like them can overcome systemic barriers and thrive. And this pattern extends beyond Diana. Across the country, Black women are entering the cannabis and CBD retail space despite formidable obstacles, regulatory red tape, limited access to capital, banking restrictions due to federal cannabis laws. Many come from non traditional backgrounds without business experience or legal expertise. They face consumer skepticism and intellectual property risks unique to this emerging industry. Yet they persist. Why? Because they understand something profound about transformation. The most powerful way to change systems isn't always to attack them directly. Sometimes it's to create alternative models that make the old systems irrelevant. These entrepreneurs invest time mastering compliance rules around zoning and licensing. They hunt down grants and alternative funding sources when traditional banks won't touch them. They build businesses combining physical stores with online platforms to maximize their reach. And in doing so, they create trusted spaces where education reduces stigma while building loyal customer bases. They become local trailblazers, shifting perceptions about both cannabis use and Black entrepreneurship simultaneously. I can feel some of you thinking, that's great for Diana, but my situation is different. I don't have her resilience, her faith, her vision. Here's what I've learned from Diana's story and others like it. Resilience isn't something you're born with, it's something you build decision by decision, setback by setback. Diana wasn't always resilient. She experienced homelessness, poverty, trauma that would have broken many people permanently. But she refused to let those experiences define her future. Instead, she used them as fuel. This is what psychologists call post traumatic growth, the profound positive change that can emerge from our most painful experiences, not despite them, but because of them. And here's where it gets really interesting. Research shows that post traumatic growth doesn't happen automatically, it requires something specific, meaning making, the ability to integrate your suffering into a larger narrative that gives it purpose. For Diana, that meaning came through faith. For others, it might come through service, creativity, or connection. The source matters less than the outcome, a sense that your pain isn't random, but rather part of a journey towards something greater. Some pioneering retailers like Diana are leveraging their stores not just for profit, but as safe spaces, focus on health equity, using CBD shops as hubs where underserved populations learn about holistic wellness options otherwise denied due to systemic inequities. These business owners face unique challenges, overcoming mistrust rooted in medical racism and past exclusion from mainstream health markets, educating customers wary of new products amid rampant misinformation. Their solutions are equally innovative, hosting workshops led by culturally competent staff, creating loyalty programs tailored specifically toward marginalized groups, partnering with local organizations and grant programs targeting minority owned startups. The results speak for themselves: increased customer trust, recognition as community leaders rather than just retailers, and additional funding based on social impact metrics. As one industry expert noted, the best way for CBD merchants is adopting an approach that sells both offline and online to ensure more people benefit. But perhaps most importantly, these entrepreneurs shift narratives around what it means for Black professionals and business owners, including women, to succeed authentically within highly regulated environments previously closed off through both law and bias. So, what does all this mean for you? Whether you're contemplating starting a business or simply trying to live with more authenticity and purpose, Diana's journey offers three powerful lessons. First, faith and self belief are the foundation of transformation. Not blind optimism, but a grounded conviction that you are worthy of the future you envision, even when no one else can see it yet. Second, resilience turns trauma into triumph. Your past pain doesn't have to define you. With the right support and meaning making, it can become the very thing that distinguishes your contribution to the world. Third, prioritizing yourself elevates your community. By refusing to perpetually sacrifice your dreams on the altar of others' expectations, you model possibility for everyone watching your journey. I want to leave you with a challenge that might feel uncomfortable. Today, not tomorrow, not when it's convenient, I want you to identify the dream you've been suffocating because you're too busy taking care of everyone else. That vision you've tucked away because someone once told you it was impossible. That desire you've been ashamed to voice aloud. Now I want you to make one bold, irrevocable move toward it. Not a tentative step, a declaration, a commitment that signals to yourself and the universe that you are done playing small. Because here's the truth that Diana's story illuminates so powerfully. The world doesn't need your sacrifice, it needs your audacity. It doesn't need your compliance, it needs your courage. It doesn't need your martyrdom, it needs your magnificent, unapologetic thriving. When Diana opened the first CBD dispensary in a former sundown town as a single mother who had experienced homelessness, she wasn't just building a business. She was dismantling generations of limiting beliefs about what was possible for someone like her. What might be possible if you decided today that your dreams are not negotiable? What healing might ripple through your family, your community, your world if you refuse to postpone your purpose one day longer. This isn't selfish, it's sacred. It's not ego, it's evolution. It's not rebellion, it's revolution. So put yourself first, not because you're entitled, but because your liberation is bound up with the liberation of others. Your joy creates permission for collective joy. Your courage creates pathways for collective courage. The most radical thing you can do in a world that profits from your self doubt is to believe in yourself anyway. The most revolutionary act in a society that expects your sacrifice is to prioritize your flourishing instead. This is your moment, not when the conditions are perfect, not when everyone approves. Now, here, with whatever you have. Because when faith meets hustle, when deep belief partners with determined action, the impossible becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Thank you